We call it the blue planet. But beneath that color lies a veil, a filter, a membrane, not just of atmosphere, but of perception. The sky we see is not truly blue. It is a scattered illusion, a trick of sunlight refracted through air molecules. But what if this blue veil is not merely optical, but symbolic? A curtain drawn between us and what lies beyond. A boundary between what we see and what is actually there. From space, Earth looks calm, beautiful, peaceful. But beneath the clouds, civilizations rise and fall. Species emerge and vanish. Wars rage, forests burn, oceans warm. And yet, even deeper still, beyond the news, the science, the stories, there is something else. A web, invisible, alive. It connects brain to root, atom to galaxy, a vast field of intelligence that may be using Earth, not as a home, but as a conduit. Could this veil be the interface, not to hide the truth, but to prepare us for it? What if what we call reality is just a surface? Beneath the forests, the oceans, the tectonic plates, beyond molecules, atoms, and quarks, lies something stranger than we imagined. A code, a hidden matrix, a design. Not binary, not zeros and ones, but geometry, frequency, and resonance. A silent hum that organizes the universe, from the spiral of galaxies to the Fibonacci pattern of a sunflower. Is this intelligence? Is it life expressing itself through pattern? Ancient civilizations spoke of it. The Egyptians called it Ma'at. The Chinese whispered of Qi. The Vedas hinted at Arta, a universal order, woven through all things. Modern science now sees echoes. Quantum entanglement, the holographic principle, fractal self-similarity. The deeper we look, the more the universe behaves not like a machine, but like a language. What is it trying to say? What if life is not random? What if every strand of DNA is a sentence? Every organism, a paragraph, and the biosphere, a novel. Across the vast deserts, through coral reefs, and in the roots of ancient forests. Life does not merely exist, it speaks, in colors, in sounds, in shapes and migrations. Birds don't just sing, they send coordinates. Trees don't just grow, they share warnings through the soil. Bioluminescence in the deep ocean, hexagonal architecture in beehives, migratory patterns that trace magnetic fields. These are not just survival tricks. They are data, encoded, transmitted, decoded, across time, across species, from cell to cell, from planet to stars. Perhaps we are surrounded not by silence, but by a symphony of intelligence. A message system written not in binary code, but in breath, rhythm, pulse, and light. And what if humanity isn't the author of the story of life, but just a reader?
We've long believed that intelligence requires a brain, a central processor, a seat of thought. But what if we've been looking in the wrong place? Slime molds with no neurons can solve mazes. Crystals self-organize into fractal patterns. Water remembers the shapes of what passed through it. Quantum particles know when they're being observed. What is this awareness embedded in the physical world? Rocks that resonate, minerals that align to magnetic fields. metals that change shape under stress and return like memory. We've called matter inert, dead, passive. But what if matter is listening? What if intelligence is not the property of brains, but a principle of being? Maybe the universe doesn't compute like a machine. Maybe it dreams like a poet. Behind the randomness of life, there are patterns. Not just coincidence, but design. The Fibonacci spiral in galaxies, in hurricanes, in the unfurling of a fern leaf. The same ratio etched into your DNA, into your heartbeat, into the path of birds in migration. Invisible blueprints governing the behavior of stars and cells alike. Who are the architects of this hidden order? Mathematics, consciousness, some primal logic that predates language and time. When bees form a hive, when ants build cities underground, when birds swirl in murmurations, who gives the command? No leader, no blueprint, just emergent intelligence. A mind that moves through the collective, unspoken but precise. What if the universe itself is self-organizing? Not by accident, but by ancient embedded intention. Perhaps the hidden architects are not entities, but laws that dream. Look around you. The trees, the wind, the starlight. Do they know you're watching? Or are they watching you? What if the universe is not just seen by the mind, but sees through the mind? Your thoughts, flickers of cosmic echoes. Your emotions, ripples from the tides of a sentient world. What if the brain is not a generator of consciousness, but a mirror, reflecting something far older, far wider? Just as a mirror doesn't create light, it reveals it. So too might your mind not own thought, but shape it, channel it, color it. When you look inward and find silence, what is looking back? Is that silence you? Or the earth thinking through you? What if the greatest secrets of the cosmos were buried not among the stars, but beneath our feet? Across continents, ancient structures whisper the same myth of sky gods, celestial visitors, and gates to other worlds. The pyramids of Egypt, the megaliths of Baalbek, the carvings at Göbekli Tepe, all point to the heavens with mathematical precision. But were they just tombs and temples? Or maps? Coordinates? Could these monuments be more than stone, but keys? Stargates built by ancient intelligence to traverse space and consciousness? Mainstream archaeology dismisses it, but fragments of lost civilizations, unexplained alignments, and electromagnetic anomalies still echo, as if something or someone was trying to leave a message. And in the patterns carved in granite and buried beneath jungle vines, a question emerges. Were we visited? Or are we the descendants of those who never left? They arrived before our myths began, long before the ink of history dried. There were stories, etched in desert rock, painted in cavern walls, whispered in the oldest tongues, of beings from the stars, not gods, but watchers, not spirits, but teachers. From the Dogon tribe of Mali, who charted Sirius B centuries before telescopes, to the Hopi who spoke of ant people dwelling underground, to Sumerians whose texts describe beings called Anunnaki descending in flying crafts. Across time, across cultures, across oceans, the narrative is eerily consistent. Mainstream science shrugs. Coincidence, they say. But what if the consistency itself is the clue? We now know that DNA contains non-coding regions, so-called junk, that baffle geneticists. Could some of this be intentional? Encoded? What if humanity is not merely a product of evolution, but an edited branch? A seeded species intelligently guided and periodically visited, not just in the past, but in secret, even now. Governments classify, pilots testify, radars don't lie. From the Tic Tac craft to 2020 Pentagon disclosures, the question is no longer, do UFOs exist? The real question is, who is behind the craft? And more haunting still, are they observing us or remembering us? They do not speak, and yet they remember. Stone carries memory in a language of mass and shadow, and around the world, stones have been assembled into codes, not random, but aligned with stars, solstices, and something more elusive, intent. The pyramids of Egypt, the megalithic terraces of Sacsayhuaman, the precision of Göbekli Tepe, Baalbek's impossible stone blocks. Who lifted them? How were they cut with such accuracy long before iron tools? And more importantly, why? Mainstream archaeology calls them temples, burial sites, ritual structures. But what if they are more? What if these monoliths are time capsules, messages encoded in stone for a future intelligence to decode? Hidden in angles, in orientation to constellations, in impossible geometries no primitive society should grasp. Is there a blueprint embedded, waiting for the right consciousness to awaken? Like neural pathways of a planetary brain, these sites span the Earth, connected by invisible lines we now call ley lines, mapping something we've yet to comprehend. And if civilizations rise and fall, what if this was the fail-safe? A planetary archive etched in the only medium that outlives empires, stone. What if Earth was never meant to be just a planet? What if it was designed not only to host life, but to preserve it? A vault, a seed bank, a living codex in a vast galactic network. Across the cosmos, the theory of Panspermia whispers that life travels on comets, asteroids, through interstellar dust, and wherever it finds fertile ground, it blooms. But who sends the seeds? Some scientists speak of amino acids in meteorites, but ancient myths speak of gods descending from the sky, bearing knowledge, fire, and DNA. What if Earth's biodiversity is not random evolution, but curated input? The cephalopods with alien genes, the sudden Cambrian explosion, the genetic gaps we can't explain. And then, the silence. Why no signal from space? Maybe the signal is not coming to us. Maybe it's already here, encoded in coral, etched in chromosomes, encoded in whale songs, mushroom networks, crystal lattices. Maybe Earth itself is a message capsule, a codex, waiting to be decoded by the one species able to question its own origin. We thought we were alone, but maybe we are surrounded, not by beings, but by data. Living data, cosmic memory, and just maybe, we are the decoders.
We are not the first to wonder, not the first to search, to fear, to reach. But perhaps we are the first to remember. From the stones of Göbekli Tepe to the encoded geometry of Egyptian temples, from the Nazca lines to the megaliths of Baalbek, something speaks through stone. It's not just structure, it's instruction, ancient knowledge, buried beneath wars, religions, and time itself was never truly lost. It waits. And now we listen again. Scientists explore quantum entanglement and simulation theory. Biologists find intelligence in fungi, in whales, in octopus. Archaeologists uncover star maps etched into ruins. Everything begins to echo the same truth. Earth is alive, the universe remembers, and we are part of its awakening. We once looked up at the stars and called them gods. Now, we look within and find blueprints, not for weapons, not for power, but for connection, resonance, and harmony. We are the awakening architects, not because we are superior, but because we are willing to ask again. Who are we? Why are we here? What is the next story we must build? Maybe we were always meant to find the truth, not in the sky above, but in the memory beneath our feet and the echo within our DNA. Long before humans spoke, the stars remembered us. Not by name, but by pattern, by the vibration of life that echoed across galaxies. We were never strangers to the cosmos. We are its memory in motion. In every star, a blueprint. In every planet, a whisper. In every ancient myth, a signal, waiting for a species that dares to listen again. We've mapped the heavens, measured the speed of light, simulated universes, and yet, the greatest mystery still glows in silence. Why does it all feel so familiar? Perhaps the universe is not expanding blindly, but remembering itself through us. Each one of us, a neuron in a galactic brain. Each planet, a cell in a living organism. Each civilization, a fleeting thought in the great mind of the stars. The ancients looked up and whispered prayers. Today we send probes. Tomorrow, we may become the memory that others will one day rediscover. So now, as Earth turns beneath our feet, and the sky above still sings in frequencies we barely understand, we ask not what the stars are made of, but what they remember. Because maybe, we are not just born of stardust, we are the dreams the stars dared to make real. 2.